Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for July 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video to see more about my personal live coaching, also to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is available on a sliding scale and is intended to help you navigate the stormy waters of the starry configurations and come through them with the most grace and ease and fulfillment possible. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get all the perks that come along with that. So what is going on in July? We have a wild month. We've got a lot of sweet energy. We have a lot of chaotic energy. We've got some really important full moon energy and all kinds of other stuff. So we start out the month with the first of our 2 full moons, and some of you are going to experience this full moon in your work, career, life, purpose sector, also the house of fathers or father figures or authority figures, your place in the world. If you're not experiencing this full moon in your 10th house, then you're experiencing it in your 9th house. But the second full moon on July 31st in Aquarius, the first one is in Capricorn, the second one will be in Aquarius, then you will experience that full moon in your 10th house. And some of you are going to have some flavors of both of them in this career, work, and life sector. So there's at least 1, possibly 2 periods of time where there's something coming to fruition, something coming to recognition or completion or acknowledgement. Aries has had this amazingly long run of career focus that is continuing with these additional transits. So that's going to continue this month with these full moons. So if you've been working really hard on things, then you are about to be recognized for them. And if you have been feeling creative, then your creativity is going to get supercharged into just like the crazy unknown dimensions of expansion. And a lot of this has to do with Jupiter. Some of this has to do with Uranus, and a lot of it has to do with them coming together. We have this beautiful symphony at the beginning of this month where we've got the full moon in Capricorn, July 1st, but it also has other things going on, tons of other things going on, crazy amounts of things going on. So we have Neptune in a favorable angle. We talked about Neptune being in a challenging angle to the full moon last month at the beginning of June. There was a challenging angle with Neptune. And whenever we have a challenging angle, we have the sides of the planet and the signs that are involved that are less favorable, that are more likely to come out. When we have something in a positive aspect, the aspects of the signs and planets that are involved have more of a chance to come out for their positive energy. So this full moon has a beautiful aspect with Neptune to the sun and the moon. And for you, Neptune has been, for a long period of time, in your 12th house. And this is a really spiritual place for this placement. The higher dimension of Neptune rules spirituality. It's the octave raiser. It dissolves lower vibrational things out and brings in higher vibrational things. Sometimes that dissolution process can be a little challenging because when things go away, we get scared and we move into uncertainty, and that can be a challenging process. But this long-term energy has been bringing more intuition and more emotional energy to this very action-oriented sign of Aries. So when we have this beautiful aspect to the full moon, it's a heightened sense of creativity and inspiration. I'm calling one of the themes of this month be in your studio. So whatever your creative space is, and if you don't have a creative space, make one in the corner of your house or at your desk or something, whatever your mediums are. You want to get them out, blow the dust off of them, and have all your things all ready, because moments of inspiration are going to spark here. You've got long-term creative juices flowing from certain long-term planetary placements, and then just like jolts of additional creativity and inspiration happening in this month at multiple junctures throughout the month. So you don't want to, when these things come over you, be looking for your pen or your notebook or your journal or your paint or your guitar or whatever. You want to have everything all ready so that when the symphony wants to sing through you, then you are ready to roar. So that's happening at the full moon. We also have some other sweet aspects with Neptune later in the month. Then we have Jupiter's still in this beautiful trine with Uranus. So Jupiter has been highlighting, expanding your house of creativity, of children, of romance, of fun, of hobbies. You earlier degree Aries placements, you started having this really start to flare up last summer. And you might have, a sensitive person may have started feeling it a little bit before then in the spring. And then it started to get stronger. Now, for you middle to later degree Aries placements, you didn't really have this starting to get really strong for you until later last year or into this year. And that would be dependent on exactly what degree your placements are at. So some of you might have just recently, like some of you later middle and later degree Aries placements, you might have just recently had Jupiter really leave that fourth house that it had been in of expanding home and family, and moving into this house of creativity. So you have a while longer still of it. But in any case, all Aries has this awesome, epic, creative opportunity sitting here at the beginning of the month that is not just on July 1st, it's in the weeks around it, but really strong around this day. So Uranus in the heavens, in your first house, has been sending these beams of inspiration to Jupiter in your house of creativity, just making you a creative powerhouse, or fueling things that have to do with children, or expanding your time with your own children, or fueling romance, or fun, or any of these things. Then on July 1st, Uranus and Jupiter are still in this loose trine. They were in the exact trine on June 23rd, but this loose trine still exists at the beginning of the month and much later. Then Venus, which rules love, beauty, and money, now comes in on the deal. So just Jupiter and Venus coming together would have just been plenty magical, and giving you opportunities to make money through your craft or your creativity to bring in money in some way, or in increasing your chances for expanded romance or fun. If you are someone that's already in a relationship, this is an awesome time to plan a getaway or spend time together. If you are not with someone, you better have your feelers out and be open to things that may come in, because your love of a lifetime could come in during this time. This is when Jupiter moves through your fifth house, it increases the odds that your true love is going to come into your life, whether it's in the relationship you already have or whether it's that person coming in. And then Venus getting involved is only going to expand that. And then Uranus, which brings surprises out of the blue, is expanding that further. So just like big love, money things going on. And Venus also rules beauty, aesthetics, artistic expressions. So you can see all these layers of art just woven in to experience at this time. Then, as if all of that wasn't enough, we have Mercury coming between July 2nd and July 5th, making this beautiful angle to both Uranus and Jupiter and Venus. So this is coming in the sector of your writing or your transportation or your communication, or even siblings, relatives that aren't your parents or kids. This other piece is coming in. If you are a writer or you are a communicator in any way, this period of time might be one of the most productive since you can remember. This is really, really epic. So you want to make the most of this. And remember also that we are still kind of in these retrograde cycles. So any of this new life force energy that's coming in is going to have some link to the past. So work you've done to get here, ideas you had from the past coming back with new fervor, things you had in your old notebooks that you breathe life back into, blow the dust off of, right? And breathe this life back into them with this new spin or these new levels of energy, but they're old projects, redoing things, reworking things. There's a really strong energy of things coming from the past and being refreshed and revitalized. If you are launching something or bringing it out into the world, you want to make sure that this is done in the second half of June, the first several days of July. After around July 4th or 5th, things get kind of dicey, and you don't want your launch to be in that period of time. You need at least a soft launch, so that the birth date is in these sweet stars, and then you can go back and redo things with the retrograde energy. But it's really important that you get your jewels, your babies, your things out into the world during these nice planetary placements. Things get kind of messy in the middle of July. So speaking of which, July 6th, the first of our antagonistic series of transits starts. And we have Pluto, which has been most of you have had this in your 10th house. Later degree placements, this is still in your 9th house, and some of you middle degree placements, it's sitting right on your 10th house cusp. That is a powerful place. For you early degree placements, you've already gone through Pluto sitting right on your 10th house cusp, and now you're kind of integrating everything that happened. Some of you middle degree placements are, like around 14 degrees, or give or take several degrees in either direction. You have this sitting on your 10th house cusp. So this is a time of birth, death, transformation, and rebirth. And we've talked about this in previous horoscopes. It's basically the time to grow or die. That's the theme. When you look at the theme of what does Pluto mean when it moves into your 10th house, and this is really true for all Aries placements, but there's gonna be hot spots. And you middle degree placements are getting most of what's happening right now. So you have to grow or die. There's an example that I remember reading about with this kind of energy, about this guy that had been in business for 30 years and had a successful business of a sort. It was like a store of a sort. It wasn't online. It was like just a regular, you go in a store and that's the business, right? Sounds so crazy, but it's un-internet related. And this person had an opportunity to expand. And he said, oh, what I've been doing for 30 years has been working, so I'm actually not going to do anything. He had Pluto in his 10th house. And within a year, his business that had been successful for 30 years shriveled up and just died with competition that came in, and he didn't want to do something different and keep up with the times. That is the energy that is going on right now in this 10th house of career and work and life purpose. Some of you may also be experiencing this as problems with your father. A lot of pressure is put on the energy of father or authority figures or your boss. Some significant male energy could be going through a hard time, could be having literal or figurative birth, death, rebirth, transformation, and you are part of that because it's your dad, so there's all this going on. So your dad might be having some trouble, and at the same time your career is lifting off to all-time heights, and you're dealing with both of those things at the same time. This is the energy of Pluto in that placement. So now the sun comes and opposes this, and it's just adding fuel to whatever this undercurrent had been kind of going on. And then later in the month, between around July 15th, remember whenever I give you dates, it's not only on that date that the possible manifestations could happen, it's days around that date. But around the middle of the month, you've got Mercury and then Mars coming and opposing Pluto, either in this 10th house or close to the 10th house. The rest of you who still have this in the 9th house, this is the house of teaching and learning and different countries and different cultures and international connections and religion and philosophy. And for some of you, you're going to be experiencing both of these energies at the same time. Maybe your work is in one of these ninth house things. So it's like carrying into your career and work, like it's not separable. So just want to watch out for this energy, because some of you later degree placements are also going to have this happen in your house of transportation. So you want to be more careful driving. You want to be more careful with what things that you say. Aries energy is notorious, unless you have some placements that really diffuse this out a little bit, but or what's the word I want to use? Just kind of soften it. Aries energy is known for just into the mind, out the mouth, before you even know what happens. And when you have Mercury in challenging angles, as it is this month, it's going to be in a challenging angle with Uranus, it's going to be in challenging angle with Pluto. You want to really tone that down. Something that I have been using that I highly recommend is a Bach flower remedy called Impatiens. If you've ever seen Impatiens, they're a flower, Impatiens. They're a type of really pretty flower. But the Bach flower remedy, B-A-C-H flower remedy, is a type of flower essence that it's homeopathic in how it works. So it takes a like kind of energy, and when you have that kind of, and it's kind of not a coincidence that it's called Impatiens and it sounds like impatience, because that's exactly the energy that we're talking about here. It helps to soften that just aggro kind of energy that bursts out in ways that are not controlled or disciplined. So it's good for you to be using that, I think, in general, but especially when you have these challenging aspects, because the things that make you angry or set you off, those are going to be flaring up, and you want to be conscious and aware of the things that you're doing and saying, and also of what other people are doing and saying, being sensitive to them. So consider looking into the Bach flower remedy. They're really inexpensive. You can find them for around $12 to $15 on Amazon. They're usually between $15 and $20 if you go in a health food store. And they're really simple to use and very gentle. I use them on kids and dogs and everything all the time. They're very effective. So then so July 6th-ish is when the energy, the way I'm describing this is like we have this beautiful symphony with all these planetary instruments playing in perfect pitch and harmony. And then in the background at the end, of this cycle around July 6th, there's like this trombone that's off key, and it's just like, sounds like a foghorn, and the cacophony starts to come in. And that's starting around then. So then on July 8th and 13th, we have Mars and then Mercury making a sweet aspect to Neptune. This is one of those additional aspects with Neptune I referred to earlier that's adding just artistry and floweriness and poetry and softness and inspiration. And also being by water can help this. I think in general, people that have very fiery dispositions benefit from being around the water. And if you don't live around the water, then doing rituals with, working with water in the bathtub or the shower might help you to cool your jets, like really literally. I have so much fire in my chart, and during the time that I usually have always lived by water, and that has really tempered things for me. But when I lived in the desert for almost 9 years, it was like craziness. So I had to get very creative with how I used water in order to balance that energy. And you might find the same thing, but this particular aspect, anything involving Neptune in a positive angle, you'll really benefit from being around water. So anything that you can do to work that in this month is going to be very helpful, both to encourage the inspirational Neptune aspects and also to cool off the other aspects that are, kind of insulting your fiery energy or assaulting it. So then on July 12th, we have the Sun aspecting Uranus. And this is either going to be happening in your house, again, of transportation. So you have to really be careful as you're moving your body. Things can come out of the blue that aren't positive. So you want to have your wits about you. Don't text when you're driving. When you're walking, pay attention to what's going on around you. When you're biking, whatever you're doing. Or news can come out of the blue. That's another way that this can happen. And also on July 18th, when Mercury comes and then makes the same square to Uranus, it's like something that's jostling or nerve jangling Uranus in these challenging angles. So we've got Uranus in these beautiful angles with certain planets, and we have Uranus in these challenging angles with other planets. Now, I do want to note that for those of you who have these middle degree Aries placements and you've been getting kind of torn up by the twister of Uranus, either sitting on your sun or your moon or your ascendant, the people who are getting most torn up here from the placement of Uranus, you stand to benefit the most from the beautiful aspects that I was talking about at the beginning of the month and that bleed kind of in a little bit later, because the nice aspects with Jupiter are actually fueling the positive energy of your identity. So when you're experiencing something in an aspect to one of those planets that is not a positive aspect, it can be very intense. But when you have something come in a beautiful, coherent energy, you stand to benefit more from it. So you might find that although things have been challenging, you get an extra boost from these positive placements. So anyway, back to the middle of the month where we've got kind of some messiness going on here. Let's talk about Saturn, because we've got a little bit of a challenging aspect with Venus and Saturn has been in your 8th house. And now for some of you, Saturn might have popped into your 9th house just at the beginning of this year. The energy kind of going in there, because Sagittarius rules your solar ninth house, and Saturn moved from Scorpio into Sag. But even it being present there, you're still, every Aries is still really wrapping up or having a long time to go, depending on your placement. Saturn's still working in your 8th house, and your 8th house is the house of credit. It's the house of debt. It's the house of joint resources, so money with your spouse, money with your business partner, your family money, anything that is shared resources, your loan, mortgage stuff. So if you have been in some trouble with debt, Saturn really wants to help you clear it up, but it's going to take some discipline on your part. So you have this challenge that comes at the middle of the month that might flare certain things up involving debt, credit, inheritances, shared money. But at the end of the month, there's a sweet spot that if you use the challenging aspect right, you could start to make headway. And if you have been getting disciplined with using Saturn in your 8th house to clear up your credit and clear up your name and your record, then you might start to see some really good news come in from that. Like maybe you get a new credit report and you're like, oh my gosh, my credit is much better, yay, or something like that. But in this aspect on July 13th, Venus is squaring Saturn. And so this is like, you know, Venus rules money and Saturn is in this house of debt. So there's a little something that goes on there that could be part of a bigger picture. So then on July 15th, we have this new moon in Cancer. Most of you will be experiencing that new moon in your 4th house of home. But some of you, later degree placements, are going to have this in your 3rd house of transportation, communication, writing, publishing. So something new coming in involving home or family or writing project or something like that. But this new moon has so much baggage that you almost can't even enjoy the newness as much. You're going to have to see the seed that's planted at this time and watch it sprout over time, because when you get out of some of the madness of this time, you know, it's kind of shrouded in this. It's like a little seedling that's hiding underneath all this thick foliage, and it sprouted, but you can't really see it yet. It might take a little bit of time. So July 15th, on that new moon, we also have what I was referring to earlier with Mercury and Mars now coming and also making an opposition to Pluto. This can be very dangerous too, especially with, you know, fire energy involved. You're a fire sign, and if you are already a loose cannon, this can kind of blow a gasket on any level for you. You know, you want to really keep yourself in a calm space. One of the reasons why it's really helpful to know about these things beforehand is because if you know there's going to be some stressful things like there are between around July 5th and, you know, really all month, then you can exercise a lot. You can get a punching bag. I think all people with Aries, strong Aries placements should have a punching bag. And you got to get those frustrations out in healthy ways. You have to run, you have to exercise, you have to use your physical body. People with strong Aries energy that aren't moving their physical body are going to go crazy. You have a lot of vibrance and you have to get it out physically. So get prepared for this space. So the vision, not the vision, but like the story that I'm seeing to explain this energy for this month is, if you are a person, let's say you're a grandparent and your kids are coming with the grandkids and the dogs, and you're having a visit and you're looking forward to the visit, but you're also thinking they're going to tear your house up because they're kids and dogs and that's what they do. If you put away your breakable things, if you put out your mats to cover your carpets, you know, if you don't serve them red fruit punch on your white carpet, and you like take some precautions, you may actually have like a decent visit where you leave your house is in relatively good order when they leave, and you can focus on enjoying the time with them. And that's what's happening here. So you know that there's going to be a ruckus, there's going to be a bull in your china shop, there's going to be, you know, things getting thrown around. But if you're in a peaceful place, it's going to be so much easier to have the equanimity to deal with these things. So more awkwardness when Mercury comes and makes this challenging aspect to Uranus. Really, you have to guard your physical body with a lot of these aspects, because all the ones that are challenging Uranus, that's in your 1st house. And for some of you later degree placements, it's in your 12th house, and that's your mind. You know, so you have to guard your body, guard your mind. guard your psyche, guard your emotions. Really just be prepared for anything, you know, and just be protective and aware and kind of in defensive mode in a way. A lot of awkwardness. So on July 21st and 23rd, that sweet follow-up to the challenging Saturn transit I talked about is going to be happening. And so you might get some good news involving other people's money. Maybe your in-laws buy you a special gift, or your family buys you a housewarming present. Aries energy has had lots of energy around home. So if you have a new home, you could get some boosts there. And then we have Venus going retrograde on July 25th. And this is really important. I've been talking about this for months. You want to avoid launching businesses. You want to avoid making commitments in love. You want to avoid plastic surgery between July 25th and September 8th and the weeks before and after. Just go backwards with love, beauty, and money. Think over things. You know, get your launches out when the energy is really good, like the second week of June, the first couple of weeks of July. If you have to launch something, those are your times to do it. Everything else after that is time to be present, time to go inward, time to go backwards. July 31st is that second full moon. If you didn't have your 10th house career, work, and life purpose enhanced in some way or affected in some way at that first full moon, then it will likely happen here, and it could happen in both. So that's our month. If you would like some help navigating these placements, please go to my website, aspiritualspark.com. Look into having a live coaching session with me. I would love to help. Also, check out my new 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is available on a sliding scale and is intended to help you clear out the self-sabotage that's interfering with the stars giving you the wonderful gifts they want to give you. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter. And I hope you have a wonderful month. Lots of creative potential here, so you'll be very busy. And I'll see you next month. Okay, bye.